Okay, good morning. This is Lucky Lynx, and this video is about how to use the Go Ask Alice Oracle. Those of you who have gotten the Go Ask Alice Oracle, you have gotten a coin and a die. Okay, this is based on the Alice in Wonderland archetypes and the story Through the Looking Glass and Alice in Wonderland. These archetypes are really powerful, and the core of the entire story is, of course, Alice herself. So I'm going to start there and show you how this works. This oracle was designed. I designed it for two reasons. I designed it as a basic fortune-telling oracle, so you could predict the future, past, present, and future with it. And in those cases, you can roll past. So, for example, we got the Mad Hatter, present, Queen of Hearts, and future would be Alice. Okay, so in that case, with the three, I would say, let's say I was reading this just as a regular fortune-telling, past, present, future. The Mad Hatter would tell me that there was an obsession that you had, or a mania, or in this case, I'd be reading for someone. I might say, okay, there's an addiction that you have that has been bringing out your anger and rigidity and is going to result in the loss of you feeling connected to yourself, and that's going to increase. And the further you go along with this sort of mania that you have, the less you will feel connected and the less you will know who you really are. That's how I might read it. So I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm going to show you what each one means and how I did that. There's also the coin part I might add to that reading to vary it or get subtleties or look a little more deeply. So Alice is the core archetype of all of it. She's the main character of a picaresque novel. That's a novel where the main character sort of goes on these little episodic adventures. They meet these new characters all the time. Each new episode brings them in contact with the new character. Usually once the main character has gotten what they need from those set of characters that they've met in that episode, they leave them behind and move on to a new adventure. This was a very popular art form in literature in the 18th, 19th century, and one of my favorite because it is a art form or story form where the main character tends to go through a lot of change by having a lot of experiences. And I like that because it reminds us of life. We have a lot of experiences when we meet a lot of people. We change, we grow, we become someone new. And if we're always open to the possibility, we can always see that there's just another episode, another adventure around the corner that can give us some new experience, some new set of knowledge, some new skills, some new friends to bring with us. So keep that in mind as you do this. This your life as a sort of picaresque. So she's the main character in all of this. She's the little roguish main character. She represents that part of ourself that's the sort of where we start with this bag of gold that we have. Each of us has this bag of gold when we're born. We're supposed to use it to sort of pay for our experiences in life. That bag of gold is our talents and our gifts and our light, who we really are at our core, what our really core self is. And that bag of gold, we come in with that bag of gold, we're supposed to use it to pay for a life of happiness, fulfillment, adventure, growth, experience, meeting people, love, all of those things. And what happens is that right from the beginning, adults, friends, teachers, parents, religious people, society starts to take that bag of gold. They take that bag of gold from us. They give us a bag of rocks instead. And they say, now you pay for your experiences and get what you want with this bag of rocks. So we move forward very confused. We feel a lot of cognitive dissonance. We feel alienated from ourselves. We feel like we don't know who we are. We stumble through bad relationships, negative experiences, trying to figure out what to do, how to define ourselves. We try to find some identity to wear, like some mismeasured suit or set of clothes that doesn't fit us. because we gave away that bag of gold because someone took it from us or told us not to do it. People are always telling us, no, don't do that, don't be who you are. Well, so we go through our lives confused because we're trying to pay for our experiences and be someone who we're not. And we're trying to be someone who we're not when we're trying to be someone that someone else has taught us to be. We tend to attract to us people who are like that too. So let's say, for example, you were supposed to, your core gifts were about creating, or they were about connecting to people. Okay, so let's say your core gifts were creating, but you grew up being told that you're supposed to be the one to mediate. You're supposed to be the one to solve other people's, be the go-between. So you spend your time being the go-between and peacemaker when you were really, sort of built at your core to create. And it ends up very, very confusing for us then. You would be very confused because you'd always be doing something that really you weren't suited to be doing. So Alice is really kind of who we're suited to be. Okay, she's a little who we're suited to be. And the first level of this oracle was how to get back to that. So now each one of these other archetypes on the die tells us something about that relationship we have to ourself, that core self. So if that's who Alice is, who we're really at our core, well then the opposite of her is the Queen of Hearts. The Queen of Hearts represents rigidity and anger and stiffness and what society says, and it represents bad leadership, bad rulers. It represents passion that takes us into a really dark place. So dark passion, not core passion. Alice would have like curiosity and that kind of passion. So Alice represents sort of adventure and curiosity in the core self, and being willing to take a risk, suppleness, the ability to change, to go with the flow, to try something new. Okay, so when she comes up, she may be telling you try something new, but this one is all about rigidity and not trying something new and playing it safe and doing what society says. And the ultimate, so it's the ultimate opposite of everything that Alice is. So when that one comes up, especially in relation to the bottle, it's going to be telling you, less of that. You need less of that rigidity in your life, less of that doing what other people say, less of that trying to fit in, less of that, all of that societal stuff. And the more you play with these, the more that they'll start to speak to you. This is just a beginning place for you to sort of lead with. When you work with this stuff, it's going to show you a deeper meaning just by working with it. Each one is designed to help you to use your intuition. They're blank. There's no colors on them so you can activate your clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience. You may see something come up as a certain color, go with it. These are designed to help you develop your intuition. So that's why there's no colors on them. That's why they're kind of plain. They're a blank slate. You start with the image, you reach into that part of yourself that's your subconscious. You let your what comes out in relation to it come out, and your intuition, you let your intuition shine with this. So those are the two opposites there. That's Alice, and that's the Queen of Hearts. So then you got the Mad Hatter. The Mad Hatter represents, he can represent manias, being stuck on something, liking to what we call, I don't know how else to say this. We call it mind sciences, the goading. Goading can represent losing yourself in sex, losing yourself in eating, losing yourself in addictions. So it's sort of a mania or an addiction or an obsession that could be healthy, could or could not be healthy, depending upon the situation and depending upon what your thing is feeling. So it could be like this guy's really obsessed with, model airplanes, and they drive him in his life. So that could be a good thing, especially if it comes up with this one. It could be a positive, motivating thing. But if this and this comes up, it could mean that the person's addicted, or there's a mania or something that's keeping them stuck. So watch your rigid thinking in this place. Also, it could indicate that the situation that you've put into in relation to your core self has sort of made you go kind of off, or could represent a person in a situation who's kind of crazy or kind of mad. So madness, or the madness that evolves from living in a world that's ruled by other people who are rigid, and bad rulership and bad leadership. So if this came up in a work setting, I might say, there's a situation, especially if this one came up first, I might roll it a couple times, and then one comes up, another one comes up. I might say, well, there's a rigid ruling system in this work atmosphere that's made people kind of go or feel like they're kind of crazy there. It feels like a madhouse. So that's the Mad Hatter. Then you got the Cheshire Cat. He might be the kind of opposite of that. He's sort of the energy of miracles or magic or possibility. When he comes up, he's all about possibilities that could happen. He's all about a magic situation that happens. Could be that you've made an invocation. It could be that you've made a wish. He can be guidance in a dark time. So if you're having a dark time happening and he comes up, it could be, there's some light around, at the end of the road. There's some light at the end of the tunnel. So follow it, and he'll guide you through that. So he can represent taking a wild risk, doing something out of the ordinary, doing something that you wouldn't do, or taking a completely different approach, standing on your head and taking a different approach. So when he comes up, you have to take a completely different approach. Get out of your comfort zone, as he represents getting out of that comfort zone. And also can represent laughter, the need for laughter, the need for not taking things seriously, the need for recognizing the absurdity in these situations that take us away from our core self. So as you can see, each one of these so far that I'm showing you, when it comes up, in these cases, it shows you how to get back to your core self, which is Alice. So depending upon what this says, it'll either say more of this kind of thing or less of this kind of thing. So let's say this came up with the mushroom, which is the increasing side. It may say you have to take more risks. You have to really think outside of the box. You have to go in that direction where you put yourself in more situations where you're out of your comfort zone to get out of this. If it's less, it's like, okay, you're being really risky. You're taking too many risks. Maybe it's time to rein it in a little bit and see things a little more in a little more organized fashion. So then we got two more that I haven't brought up yet. One of them is the rabbit, the white rabbit. He started as the sort of inspiration for all of us. So he can indicate inspiration or the inspiration to try something new. He actually represents new worlds that are opening up to you, new opportunities. He represents great fortune, great possibility if you're willing to take it and go past the way that you normally think. The world that you're used to, because he represents a new world, a new possibility that you're entering. So he can also represent on the negative side. He can represent anxiety. He can represent worry. He can represent the sort of anxiousness that comes up when you go against who you really are. So while he calls you to take an adventure and to follow him down that rabbit hole, which can also suggest that that you're if you keep doing this, you're going to end up someplace that you hadn't necessarily intended, but it's not necessarily somewhere that won't bring fruit. In some cases, maybe if this comes up, if the bottle comes up with it, it may say, you're going down a rabbit hole that isn't going to yield any fruit. So that's the white rabbit. And then the last one on it is the caterpillar with the hookah. And the caterpillar can represent or represents the need to change your state. So it represents that you've become completely detached from your core self and you need to change your state. So if you're in a bad mood or you're in a weird mood or whatever, it means that you have to do something to change your state, literally. That means this might be a good time to explore meditation. It might be a good time to start to study your mind, hypnosis, things like that, and start to understand that everything that you experience during the course of the day is simply a state, and that you can always change your state. It can also represent the need to do things by a habit that or habitual patterns that you've started that you're not even aware that you're doing, or in some cases that you might be aware you're doing. So habitual patterns that you do just for the sake of doing them. So you wake up every day, you do the same thing because it's a habitual pattern, and you keep getting yourself in the same situation over and over again where you're not getting the results you want. That means it's time to change your state because you've gotten habitual patterns and you have to change your state, okay? So that's the archetypes. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the coin. In each one of these cases, if you roll it with it, but it's your choice. You can roll the coin by itself. So for example, let's say I rolled it and I got the rabbit, okay? That would mean there's new opportunity here, a fortune possibility. And I rolled this with it, and it would mean fortune is increasing right now because the mushroom represents increasing, the bottle decreasing. So you flip it, find out, and then so you get the mushroom. Okay, so that's what you do. So you roll the coin, you flip it. Your choice. You can use it with it, without. You can also use this for cards. So let's say you throw a card, let's say you throw the chariot, and you get this. That would indicate with the chariot it's time to take movement and it's time to take action and move towards your victory. Okay, so if I got the bottle with it, I might say, okay, it's time to sort of sit still. Victory is coming towards you. Okay, so so that's the coin. So you use the coin in each one of these cases. So let's do a read. So let's say someone comes to you about a job opportunity. They're like, hey, I want to know if this job interview I'm going on is going to pay off. So you go like this. You go, okay, so I got this. Okay, so that's the Mad Hatter. Okay, and it's the bottle. So I would literally say to that person, okay, you're focusing way too hard on this one opportunity, this one job that you're looking for. You need to be doing other things. You need to be out there meeting other people. So you put all your eggs in one basket, and you have to stop doing that because you're kind of obsessed with this one job thing. You got to be out there looking for as many opportunities as you can. Focusing so hard on that one thing is sort of locking up the situation for you, and you're not going to get positive results. You have to be out there sort of meeting lots of people, exploring lots of opportunities, and then you'll see things open up. So I would say then, what happens if you focus on other opportunities, other possibilities while you wait for this interview thing to come to fruition? What would happen if you're that? So I would say the change of state would create a positive outcome because it was this. You'll change your state and create a more positive outcome because this is the mushroom. So the mushroom indicates can indicate in a fortune-telling sense, in a general fortune-telling sense, a more positive outcome. This one suggests that either it's delayed or hesitated or there's something else in the way. So again, that could be like the sun and that can be like the moon. So now that is how you use the oracle. You can use it, like I said, to figure out, okay, so what do I have to do to get back to my core self, you might ask. So let's say a woman comes to you and she says, how do I get back to my core self, or who am I at my core? And then you roll this, and I got this, and then I got this. Okay, so that's the bottle. So intuition would tell me in this case that this woman needs to change her state, and I can't really tell her who her core self is, and none of us, really can go to someone else to tell us, because we'll end up in the end resenting that person for telling us. We'll always doubt it. It'll just be another case where someone is telling us who we have to be. So my advice to this individual would be, you really need to start looking at your own mind and your own habitual patterns. And if you start to observe your patterns and you start to break down those patterns, you're going to start to get more in touch with who you are at your core, and you're going to find more peace and more fulfillment in your life. So this is a time to really start studying the mind. Maybe start meditating, start looking for different ways to find peace. I might say it's time for you to start going and taking walks in the woods and really reflecting on the day and spending some time away from what you normally do in your habitual patterns in an unfamiliar environment to find some new ways to figure out who you really are, and let that naturally arise. Speak to that person inside of you and see what she says deep down, and who she wants to be, and what has happened to her. So that's how I might do that. And then she might say, okay, well, how close am I to finding that? Well, that's a fortune-telling question. So I'd be like, okay, so I got Alice and the mushroom. Well, I'd say it looks to me like you're going to have to do a little more work to bring her out and to bring her to the surface, because she's very much trying to reach you right now. It's one of the reasons why you're here speaking to me. It's one of the reasons why you're taking this step, because she's actively been trying to get you to notice her, which means look for those things in your life that seem incongruous, and look for those things that seem out of a place, those moments where you break out, you lash out. It's her trying to tell you who she is, and trying to tell you those moments where you don't want to settle anymore and you don't want to live by someone else's rules. That's how you use it. That's the Go Ask Alice Oracle. If you'd like to get a hold of a copy, this is just the basics. I'll do some videos on how to do some more advanced readings. I've done another video called the Impromptu Fortune Teller, and it shows you how to take this and my Gypsy fortune telling dice and use just the two of them to do a complete deep reading on someone else. So if you'd like to get a hold of them, if you'd like to get a hold of a set, you can email me at conjurehope, CONJUREHOPE, all one word, at gmail.com, and I'll help you get a hold of a set of these. And or you can contact me through the site here, wherever you're seeing this, and I'll be happy to set you up. And if you have any questions about them, please go ahead and put them in the thing below, and I'll do my best to answer. Post your readings with them, and I'll help you with them if I can. You can also join my Lucky Lynx Fortune Dice group, and we post readings with these and the other dice and regular dice, to any dice, Astro dice, any dice you got. So I'm Lucky Lynx, wishing you success and good fortune, and may you have a wonderful day and a wonderful fall.